Spud, now that you're a doctor, right, when you order a book online, right, and it comes to the house and you get it and you open it, do you go, just what the doctor ordered?
Brilliant. Aga keeps dropping into the conversation that she wants people to kind of be conspiratorial or what's the word, contrarian about vaccines and all that, just so she can say, well, my husband's a doctor.
Yeah. He is a medical doctor. No.
Shut up.
What was the reaction when it arrived? And your mum was there at the time, wasn't she, when it arrived? Was there?
They just laughed. Yeah, it came out when we had a party here over Christmas, and everyone at it were dying to know what this doctor thing was about because they'd seen it on Instagram. So I got it out and showed them. There it is. That's it. Like if anyone wants to get married or die, I can do the ceremony in America. I'm not too sure. I need to look up if I can do it. Well, I probably can't do it because I got it done in Spud Murphy. I should have got it done my real name, but just get another one. Grand.
Yeah, grand.
You know, it's only a doctorate, like.
It doesn't mean anything. Like, it's fine.
They're 10 a penny, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's grand. Any crack? What's going on in Ireland?
Any crack in Ireland? We're like, I don't know. We've run out of tests here in Ireland. Essentially, we've hit capacity. We've so many people that we just can't keep up with it. But even with that, though, they're talking about changing the rules, because even though so many cases, it's not really to a large extent affecting like the hospitals and stuff like that. That they're not as severe cases. Depending on, it's this thing with, I keep saying Omicron, but it's Omicron. I don't know, whatever, Omi. Every time you go on to a news source, whatever, it goes, oh, it's so mild, it's just like a head cold, and then literally the next news source after is, Omicron will kill all of us. It's so much worse than Delta. But they're talking about that if you have the boosters, that you don't have to isolate at all if you're a close contact. That's what they're trying to, because they just kind of go, listen, this is going to be here forever, so now we'll have to get a battle plan to some way.
Get used to it and keep getting your boosters, I suppose, is going to be the plan for it, you know? Yeah,
and they're talking about getting rid of the COVID certs for domestic stuff now in March as well. Whether that'll happen or not, that's that's the same thing as we're saying. They won't be around forever, but they've been around for whatever it is, 6 months now. But yeah, you'll still need them for flights, I assume, because like
there's a strange thing over here because like a few months ago I went up to a beer fest thing up in Katowice, and there was it was in like the main, what would you call it? Sports hall-y thing. It's big. It's like it holds, I think, 15,000 people or something. Now there wasn't that many people at the beer fest, but like I had a big panic on trying to, because piece of advice, listeners: don't ever buy a Huawei phone. Okay, just don't, because Donald Trump and China. I don't remember the ins and outs. Why hasn't that been sorted? For fuck's sake, Biden.
Why hasn't anything been sorted?
What are you doing, Biden? You know, fix relationships with Huawei, and so I can have Google services on my fucking phone. But no, you download the app, and it won't work without. Lots of my apps actually won't work without Google services. Like TuneIn Radio doesn't work, Slack doesn't work, and all these other ones that use your Google email.
It's the equivalent, I suppose, of having like a Kindle Fire tablet that doesn't have Google services either. There's only a certain amount of that. Yeah. There is ways around it, though, but you can install Google services on your phone. Yeah,
with this COVID app, the Polish one, you can download the APK file, that's the Android file, but you still can't log into it properly. So, I had to borrow her phone off her, and she had mine for them, and whatever. And I was looking for ways to hack this, how to install it properly, and all this spent half a day doing it, couldn't do it. Ended up taking her phone, went up there. Do you think anyone asked for the app? No, of course not. But I had a mate the other day who went to the opera, and that was full on. Like you had to show it at that. So I think it depends kind of where you go. And none of the pubs here, because like I know like when my parents were over here, they were saying like back in Ireland you need to show it at pretty much anywhere you go into now, restaurants, pubs, all that kind of stuff. But here, I haven't seen it anywhere. Like some places have a note in the window saying have it, but I've never seen it been done.
Yeah, some of the places like I've not that I have been in many pubs, but I was in 2 pubs just before Christmas on the same day, and one definitely wasn't letting us in without it, and one didn't give a shit. So And the cinema, when I go to cinema, you have to have it, and you have to have ID, and you will be stopped if you don't have ID. To prove that you're the Tommy Kelly, that you're, it's not. I'm not just holding up Spud Murphy's thing. But I mean, it's grand with the cinema because the ID you can have is my cinema card because it has a photo of me and my name if I wanted it. But like, I mean, your passport. But the cinema got smashed, absolutely smashed. All the windows at the front of it because someone was asked for a cert and he went nuts and smashed all the windows. That's helpful.
It wasn't just because The Matrix is really disappointing and no one liked it.
Yeah, that's fine. On the way out, smash all the windows and protest.
We didn't talk about that because you were mad excited to see The Matrix and been very disappointed. Hasn't done well, has it?
Well, it was never going really to do well, was it? Like it was kind of like, or any films really doing well at the minute? I don't know. It's somewhat well. It was definitely. It says it in The Matrix 4 that they only did it because unless they did it, someone else was going to do it. That was part of the contract. Like they literally say that in this is why The Matrix 4 is happening. So,
wait, explain that again. So there was an option for a fourth in the original contract.
There must have been in the contract, and then they said, so if you don't do it, we're going to do another Matrix film without you anyway. So you may as well do it. So that's kind of what happened.
So it might have been better if it was it both Wachowskis?
No. Just I think it's just Lana. I don't know. It was only one of them. Yeah, just the first half hour is great, and then you kind of, because you're expecting it to go somewhere new or something different, and you go, this is the same old shit as the shitty third movie. Exactly, literally, awful movie.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's kind of a heist thing. They have to go somewhere, get something.
It's essentially a really, really piss poor sci-fi heist movie. Awful.
Right.
And it was kind of when it dawned.
How do they write it in then? Do they? Is it like what's his name? Arthur Conan Doyle used to go back with the Sherlock Holmes things, and they'd ask him, well, where does this fit in the timeline? And
no, it's like
this is before.
No, it's like literally 6 months after the third movie. That's it. Like it's a direct continuation from it. Yeah.
Huh.
And that doesn't answer any of the things of in the third movie why Neo has powers in the real world. They just kind of don't mention that ever again. So
he has them in the real world in this.
In the third in the third one he has, but he doesn't have
the third one. Yeah.
And now he doesn't, and they don't mention it. So.
All right, that's kind of strange. I was reading. I've been reading a lot of fiction lately, and I just got the bug again.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen your posts. All right.
Yeah, Cormac McCarty's Suttree is fucking amazing. So it is. Like, if you like Cormac McCarty, it's is it better than Blood Meridian? Yeah, it's definitely less violent, but it's a bit like he. I don't know. He must have read, or he obviously he had read Ulysses. James Joyce's Ulysses, and says, I can do a plotless book easy, no problem.
Yeah.
And it's just the way he writes is just amazing. I love it. But what happened? I was on YouTube and it was just Chuck Palahniuk thing came up, so I watched that, and then I watched the documentary about him. It's called Postcards from the Future, which is have you seen it? It's really good.
It's been on my list like 10 years and I've just never got around to watch it.
It's the same. I never got around to it. It's quite good. It's kind of this thing that this organic thing sort of started. Some college wanted him to come down and have a chat, and he's like, I'm not really into that kind of stuff. I'll go to book signings or I'll do some book reading in a bookshop and all that, but I'm not so sure about this thing. He was just nervous about being centre of attention and getting the adulation. But then they came up with the idea, so we'll make it a kind of a more of a creative thing where, like, you'll talk about a book, you'll take your questions and answers, but then there's a bit where other people will give you stuff that they've been inspired by you. So like there's a couple of kids get up, college kids get up, and they do this like fight scene, and then there's this other stuff, poetry and readings and all that. Whatever, it's good, but yeah. Bring it back to the Matrix thing. I wanted to ask you about how they write it in the timeline, because there's another fight. Because I just read Fight Club. Fight Club's a great book, and reading it now and having all the magic experiences, if you read it again through that lens, you're like, shit, is Tyler Durden Satan, or is he like a demon or like a really bad HGA. Because there's a lot there's a lot in the book about enlightenment and Buddhism and it's strange to read it after having
must read it again at some point.
And you can fly through it because it's only 200 pages or something.
Did you read the sequel ever? No, Fight Club.
That's
2.
what I was going to say. I flew through that there last night as well.
Good?
There's 2 and 3. No, I didn't like it because the first issue with it is that, and I don't mind this issue too much. That's why I was asking about the Matrix, how to write it in, because they changed the ending of the book to fit it so that it can keep going. All right, so that's
it can fuck right off then, as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah. It's an interesting way that they've done it, but I don't know.
Is it Chuck Palahniuk? Did he write it? Did he write the comic?
Yeah. He wrote the comic. Yeah, and he does this annoying thing that I don't like in comics, where he's in the comic.
Oh, right, yeah. The Grant Morrison thing.
Because he find like and his name isn't Jack. His name is Sebastian as well.
They actually give him a name.
They give him a name, yeah. And he there's like kind of, how to explain it? During the comic, they're like kind of finding plot holes, the characters in it.
Right.
And then they kind of, what's that? Breaking the fourth wall? Mm-hmm. And then they're like, here, what's going on? And then Chuck is in his writing group with a whole lot of women drinking wine, and it's like, yeah, God, what do we do here? Like? And they're kind of spitballing what to do. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't know.
It's interesting, but I mean, literally Grant Morrison did it 30 years ago with Animal Man.
Exactly. It's been done quite a lot in comics, and even though, say, Grant Morrison might have been one of the first ones to do it, and then Neil Gaiman has done it as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there is like Will Eisner did it as well. I'm pretty sure he did. It's a thing that people do, you know. And I'm sure it's definitely, comics is not the first. Like, isn't Alfred Hitchcock in every one of his movies? I know he doesn't play any part in it, but like, it's still, he always kind of looks at the screen as he walks past it.
Yeah. The reason I picked it up, because I was just wanting
or that, I suppose that, you know that film, sorry to interrupt, my brain's not quick enough to get in before you started talking, but you know the film Adaptation, or as we would say in Ireland, Adaption.
Adaption. Yeah,
it's Nicolas Cage, where it's essentially him, I suppose, trying to write the movie, being the movie he's in, and he has a brother who's also writing the movie, who's also played by Nicolas Cage. It's really good, really, really good. It's the same guy did being John Malkovich. So it's I think
that would be good then.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it's really good. Yeah.
Right.
And anyone I've ever said it to goes, no, I've never heard of it. And like it's like, I don't think it was a flop or like a B movie. It was like
not heard of it. No.
Yeah, it's definitely
Fight Club was a massive flop. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I assumed
Fight Club made very little money on theatre release, but like on DVDs it just fucking took off. Like, I mean, it's such a it's a weird thing to talk about with a lot of people, Fight Club, because it has now a very bad reputation because of the incels and the snowflakes and the woke stuff. Yeah. But it's like, if you read it like that's not what it's about at all.
No,
like,
no.
You know. But
it's definitely not.
Then again, also, I mean, I presume like there's a lot of incels who have read it and do take the wrong meaning from it.
The hero worship of Tyler is that, you know, the hero worship of Tyler Durden is not the point of the book. It's somewhat slightly more the point of the movie, but it's that's, you know, it's kind of, and you know, the narrator, or Sebastian as it turns out, you know, kind of understands that towards the end, you know, that it's that to have the kind of you know, to think the coolness and to be the one to all of this is probably the thing that's destroying you, you know, so, which, you know, spoiler, ultimately does. But yeah, well, or doesn't, because they changed it. But yeah, no, I remember, though, it was kind of one of those things. It was a bit like The Matrix in how it you know, impacted the rest of movie making, where there was all the slow-mo scenes, and it was just every movie, it was dramatically different, sci-fi movie or action movie after The Matrix. After Fight Club, you had like a 10-year run of every movie, the killer was the guy looking for the killer, or he was the same guy. You know, like you have Secret Window by Johnny Depp, there's a Robert De Niro one. There was like about 10 movies that were like just I remember going watching this turns out that he's the fucking bad guy and the good guy. I'm just going to scream, but there was just so many of them. And again, spoiler, but it's Fight Club's 20 years old. It has to be, whatever. So I mean, if you haven't seen it now, that's not my fault. But I remember at the time when the reveal happened, where he go, Brad Pitt goes, Tyler Durden. And you go, oh my God! I didn't see it.
It's brilliant, yeah. Because I remember it came out more or less around the same time as The Sixth Sense, and I remember seeing the trailer for that, and I went, yeah, he's dead. Bruce Willis is dead. And I remember exactly where we were watching. We were living in Diggs, and there was like 9 or 10 lads living in this house, and this old one, she used to cook us dinners and that, and it came up. There was a trailer on MTV. MTV used to always be on the telly because like it used to have music. That's how old we are. And like I remember saying it to lads and like, oh, shut up, Spud. No, he's not. And I didn't go see it because it was fucking obvious. And then they came back and they're like, how'd you know? I was like,
and that was even before M. Night Shyamalan ever knew that there's the twist. So it's like you were kind of, when you watch a trailer now, oh, what's the twist? They're definitely dead. He's an alien. I don't know. He doesn't exist. Whatever it is. That
was
last
making,
one of his.
In one of the things I was watching with Palahniuk, an interview, he was talking about. It's called what you're talking about there, transgressive fiction. So where the protagonist, they do kind of bad things, Okay. So you have Sebastian in Fight Club. He obviously doesn't do good things. He talks about Trainspotting is another one. They're all heroin addicts and thieves and robbers and nasty people. But he says that when 9/11 happened, that ended that fiction for at least 10, 15 years. Because if anything was written like that, it was always seen through the lens of, oh, these are terrorists, rather than these are anarchists or whatever,
Yeah, can you imagine like Fight Club coming out after 9/11? You're just not that ending. No way, it not happening.
No chance.
I kind of always had a thing with like Goodfellas and mafia movies and stuff like that, which kind of glorified these absolute bastards and horrible people. And I was just kind of, I understand in one sense because I do like the anti-hero. Like I'm not against it, but it's like I couldn't understand the glorification of it or why people were enjoying these things. I just went, these are horrible, horrible people, and it's like you're meant to think they're like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. Like, what a disgusting person,
awful,
yeah, and it's like, oh, he's great, I love him. I don't know, but it's like whatever it is, just about those particular type of characters really get on my nerves. I can in other, I'm not against the kind of shit character or the shitty person being the main character. It's just something, I don't know, it always got me about mafia movies, just going, I can't get this because I think maybe they're too real.
The Tony Soprano thing.
Yeah. They're too...
Did you probably watch The Sopranos, yeah?
I didn't know because it was that thing. I don't like these people. And I want...
They're very, very smart in the way they do it in The Sopranos because, Tony's obviously... He's a mafia boss. He's a piece of shit. Like, it's horrible. He killed lots and lots of people. But they do these very, really, really smart things to get you sympathetic towards him, and that they put him in therapy. You see him and he's with his problems, and like he doesn't have any problem with killing people, but he has like problems with his wife or with his cousins or family or business stuff. But it's never about murdering, And they do this other thing as well, which I hadn't copped, and someone mentioned to me, like after they do a murder that's planned, they always go for these massive meals in restaurants. Right. Always. I never copped it, but when I watched it the second time, I copped it. All right, they always go for these massive meals because they just need to. I don't even know what it is that they need to do. It's not getting out of your system because then you just go off and try and do something different or try and get rid of the guilt or whatever the fuck it is. But it's just like it's this weird ritual that's almost a celebration, but not quite as well.
Right, well,
it's good.
Yeah.
No, The Sopranos is really good, man. It was definitely worth watching. Definitely. There's a lot of great characters in it that like just make you go, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, Vanessa watched it and it was kind of in the background, for while she was going through the whole thing, but I definitely didn't watch it. So, but I might. I'll see. There's so much that I want to watch that I'll probably watch stuff that I want to watch first. Did you ever watch Rescue Me? Did you ever watch that?
No, I did. What's his name? Leary.
Yeah. Like that's a good example of a kind of an arsehole that I enjoyed. You know what I mean? Like he's not a nice person. Doesn't kill anyone. But I mean, he does some really, really shitty things in that. But I don't know, just something about the mafia thing that always kind of gets me. And I'm sure it's not just that. I'm sure if my brain was working properly, as it doesn't seem to be anymore, that I could give you other examples that are somewhat related. Is it anti-hero? Is that the correct way? Or is it, you're saying it's transgressive? Thing? Yeah.
Well, transgressive fiction is when you have a main character who does things they shouldn't be doing. You know?
Right.
There's another really good one as well that I'll read next called Survivor, and
I read Survivor and Invisible Monsters. They're the other two I read. Yeah.
Invisible Monsters was the first book, but he couldn't get it published until after Fight Club.
Yeah, and he rewrote some of it. There's parts of it. The one I had,
Survivor's great in the airplane, and the time is ticking down. It's a great idea, brilliant idea. You know, really good. He's a great writer, and
I didn't read Choke.
Choke is good. The film is funny.
Oh, is there a film? I didn't notice.
Yeah, it is. The film's very funny. Your man from, what's that film, Moon?
I know who you're on about. I don't know his name, but I know who you're on about.
He's the main guy in it. Yeah, it's actually quite funny. Yeah. I wanted to mix it up because, like, to go from, say, a writer like Cormac McCarty, who's like, what did someone explain it as? He's something like brutal honesty mixed with wonderful poet, something like that. But then to go to someone like Palahniuk, who's like very little, what's the word I'm looking for? It's all kind of action and dialogue. There's very little of the descriptive stuff going on, which is, you know, I like both styles. Like, you know, I like the, you know, it's
Is Cormac McCarty? Does he do the short chapter thing or the any chapter?
No, does he barely do any chapter? No, he does chapters, but like, you know, he there's no quotation marks. There's there's very few commas. There's the odd full stop now here and there. Like I love it. I love it because I like a book that kind of makes you have to work. Like, but it's the same way that, you know, I read Trainspotting I don't know how many fucking times. I love Trainspotting because it's written in Scottish and it's just the fight to understand it. You know, it's brilliant.
I never read it, but I hear I hear that it takes you about 2 or 3 chapters and then you're kind of fluent in it and you're fine.
The first time I read it, I was about halfway through the book before I realised what the word Ken meant. Ken. It just means
can.
Do you know what it means?
Yeah. As in, your friend Ken. That is that?
No, it means I know or I knew.
There you go. Right.
I was halfway through the book. I was like, what the fuck does this mean? And then I copped it, and it explains. I think it explains where the name Trainspotting comes from as well, which isn't in the film. Which is bizarre. It's called Trainspotting. I think there's a scene in the film where there's trains going by, all right, or they take a train out to the countryside and they all get pissed off with Renton for bringing them out there, and they have that rant about the English, why they hate the English. Oh, fucking wankers! We were colonised by wankers. And he in the book, I think Renton's dad or Spud's dad. I think it's Spud's dad. He's homeless, and he just sits around train stations all the time begging. And they find him one day, like, what are you doing? I'm train spotting. What the fuck do you think I'm doing?
Right.
You know?
Okay, that's cool. Makes sense. I kind of like that that's not mentioned in the movie. Why it's called Train Spotting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's good. The second film is fucking hilarious as well.
I haven't seen it.
It's not like the books really. It's more of a comedy. There's a great scene where they're in an orange lodge, and because they're all Catholic,
right? Yeah,
the Train Spotting lads. And they're freaking out. They go in and they're stealing credit cards. And obviously everyone's pin, because they're all unionists, everyone's pin is 1608. Isn't that the Battle of the Boyne? You should know this. You're from there.
Wow.
So everyone's pin is 1608 because that's when the Protestants beat the shit out of the Catholics in Ireland. Right, okay. That's all. So, but they're in here and the football hooligans and the unionists are like trying to figure out who these lads are, and they're like, they kind of cop it then. Are you lads Catholics? Like, we're not Catholics. What the fuck are you on about? All right, prove it. Like, okay, so they go up and sit at the piano, and Sick Boy is like trying to remember how to play the piano, and then Renton, what's Renton's real name? The actor, Ewan McGregor. They have this amazing ad-lib song. There's no more Catholics. They're all fucking dead. It's hilarious. It's brilliant. It's so fucking good. Yeah, it's really good. Really, really good. As a comedy film, it's very, very good. Yeah. There's the one about George Best. You'll know this one. Some journalist or something was George Best had retired and he wasn't doing any more interviews, and someone had spent a long time trying to get him to do an interview. So he tracked him down and he's hanging around with George Best and they're going drinking and partying and just having a great time. And they go back to Best's hotel room and Best is sitting on the bed with a bottle of champagne and two leggy blondes beside him. And the journalist is like, George, where did it all go wrong? And George is like, what? What are you on about? What did we go wrong? Look at this. You know.
Well, is good quote about, he says, all his money, he says, some of it I spent on women, some of it I spent on drugs, some of it I spent on women, and the rest of it I squandered.
Oh, good lad. Yeah, he was some yoke. You know.
He's dead, isn't he? He's dead a good while now.
Ah, yeah, he
live
died a while ago.
Yeah. Good lad.
Poor old chap.
We have a new challenge. Sorry.
We got a great response to the putting out the videos, didn't we? Or asking people.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Thanks everyone for that.
That's great.
That was lovely.
With some good ones. We'll be talking about Carlos in a while, as you'll probably know from the title of this episode. But we've enough for a couple of weeks to get through.
Oh, we've loads there. Yeah,
it's strange that one of the most kind of suggested one was that the Witch of King's Cross or whatever. Mm-hmm. That seems to be picking up. Like, that's a couple of years old, that one. Like, it's not that it's relatively new. It's such a pity it's not a better documentary. Like, it's produced well and looks good, and she's really interesting, but it's just, I don't know, there's something I can't. Yeah. Just not didn't work. It's not detailed enough or something, or it's a bit style over substance. So. Yeah,
there's not enough about her hijinksy, magic-y stuff. It's a bit it addresses it, but not. Yeah. It's a bit. It's kind of made for a wider audience. Yeah, it's like, well, you like her for her art. Here's a little bit more about her. Whereas, like, me and you are coming at it from like, we want all the sex magic. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. Literally, we want the dirt. Come on, tell it to us. Yeah, a couple of
the fortunate thing must be nearly over, is it?
Yeah, that's what. Because I was going to start the year with the Metta challenge, which is the new challenge, but I said, no point in trying to have two challenges going at the one time. So it's I think it was day 38, 39. I can check. Hold on, it's right in front of me here. 39 is today of the fortunate challenge or the prosperity challenge, and then next week on the 17th, which is Monday, we're going to start the Metta challenge. That is next week, isn't it? Yeah. Which is the love and kindness. And it's only 14 days, because I think that's long enough. Doing these kind of 30 days or 90-day things can sometimes get a bit taxing on people. But I think 2 weeks of something that's quite nice, like Metta, which is, sending out love and positive energy to the world. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my first challenge of the 2022.
Do you do the standard kind of sentences, or do you make up your own?
Yeah, well, there's any number just from kind of, I suppose, standard ones, but I tend to try to fall onto my own, because I think with something with this kind of sentiment, you want something that really rings true with you, that it's, what's the usual ones? May you be well, may you be happy. Like, and there's ones like may you be fulfilled, but like for me, it's like may you be safe is much more powerful than, may you be, secure, say, or whatever is things. May you be happy, may you be well, may you be safe, may you be loved. It's stuff that's actually going to mean something to you. But there is any number of them, and I will put up a different kind of list of what people can use. What ones do you go for? Do you just go with a general heart-opening aim towards them?
There's one video I always listen to. What does he say? May you be well, may you be at ease, may you have ease of being. That's it. That's what he says. And it's, picture the usual 4 or 5, isn't it? Yeah. Picture someone you know, someone you love, someone you kind of know, someone you don't know at all, someone you fucking hate. Yeah.
And then you can extend it out to the world, or some of them start with you and some of them end. I usually start with me, because it's a good place to start, but I can understand why you wouldn't. If you don't particularly like yourself, you should probably start with someone you do, because that'll get the graw, as we call it here, going. And you can send to the world and then to the universe and to all beings or whatever. And I'm kind of going to leave that up to people as much as what they want to do. The enemy thing is interesting, because
I like the enemy one.
The most interesting one is the person you don't really know, because you kind of have to change that often because you start feeling like you know them. It's going, oh yeah, I'm beginning to get attached to this person.
You have to change it every day. Like.
Yeah, because I was doing it
anyway.
for the postman for a while, and then I was going, I was like getting really happy when I seen the postman. I was like, all right, have to pick someone else, someone else now. I don't care about the bin man or whatever it is, but it's a lovely little thing. I always, sorry, just to finish up, I always envision them smiling and something nice happening to them, and that kind of seems to help that kind of along, that you see them happy, visualize them being happy as well, rather than just kind of sending it to them. And I often end up just smiling or even laughing sometimes when I'm doing it, which probably strictly is breaking practice, but I'm very okay with that. So
yeah. Did you know like the lore of it? Where's it come from? Is it a Buddha thing? Or
it's a Buddhist practice, yeah.
I know it's a Buddhist thing,
yeah.
but who?
Oh, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I never looked into it. I don't know. That's the answer. I'm not going to try and pretend I do though. I'll have to look into it. That'll be an interesting one to put up in if there's any kind of history.
Because like I've read stuff that say that like the Buddha said to do Vipassana and Metta, but it's like I thought he just did. I thought it was just the insight meditation he did. I don't know.
But there's it's like so much. It's like there's so much written about the Buddha. You know what I mean? And there's probably certain different sects who have certain different kind of views of what he taught or whatever. But again, I'm not a Buddhist expert, so I kind of tend to shy away from putting any kind of firm statements down about Buddhism, because there's always someone who will correct. Well, that thing in the internet. If you want to know something, just say something wrong in the same area and you will be corrected. So the Buddha definitely, his only thing he taught was loving kindness. He was originated it under the Bodhi tree. It was loving kindness. When Earl Mora came up, he just went, no, loving kindness, yeah.
Love you, Mora.
Yeah. And that was actually, he just preached loving kindness forever, and everyone else since has got it wrong. So yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth of it.
It is the truth, yeah. It's you were saying to me a long time ago that if you get into this chaos magic stuff, like Buddhism's definitely going to come on your radar.
Yeah, definitely. It's something. Yeah, it's unavoidable, I would say. Unless you never get past, and this is fine. I don't mean this as judgment. You never get past the chaos magic for things. You're doing it for your money, your sex, your getting out of court cases, whatever it is. But I think if there's any kind of development along meditation, if you start meditation, you're going to you're going to end up some sort of inroad into Buddhism at some point. And you should, because that's where it comes from, essentially. Well, that's arguable, but let's say it is for the sake of argument. It puts the context around the meditative practices that that may not exactly be available to people who's learned mindfulness from work or from Google or from something like that, where all of that context is taken out of it, where it's just seen as stress relief or relaxation or can you stop being depressed so you can get back to your factory job, please, type of thing. Yeah. But
what's it called? CBT, CPR, CBT,
CBT,
isn't it?
Yeah.
CBT.
Cognitive behavioural therapy. There's a few other ones. There's ACT, which is kind of trying to bring that a bit forward. But cognitive behavioural therapy is how to deal with stuff that you shouldn't have to deal with, I suppose, essentially, or with trauma or with life or whatever, and just reframing things, how to get on with it. And it is very super helpful, of course, when you learn things, but it is, there is that kind of at the back of it. It is just kind of, I suppose, don't look at the man behind the curtain. Just ignore him.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to a couple of lads about this on the Discord. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but like I don't mind if it's, how to say it, if that's. If you get into it just for that reason, for it to be a stress reliever, for it to make you, for it to teach you how to kind of deal with your problems mindfully, then I don't have a problem with just doing mindfulness meditation for that. Absolutely no problem with it at all. But I know that but then once you, I don't know, step it up and start doing the Vipassana stuff, and then other shit happens.
But even from the mindfulness concentration other shit can happen. And if you're not prepared for that, if you're not in a that's the kind of danger. It doesn't often happen, but it can happen. Like
isn't that the whole reason why you're taught first to just count your breath, so that when it does get hairy, then you just ignore it and come back to your breath.
Yeah,
you know? But even not ignore it, but just put it aside or whatever, you know.
But even with that can lead to like counting some people never do any other meditation other than concentration exercise of, say, counting their breaths and still become awakened. So it is a possibility that within doing stuff for stress relief or mindfulness or whatever, that you can have spiritual experiences that you mightn't be prepared for at all. Positive, negative, neutral, doesn't matter. And when you take it out of context, and you don't know what it is, whereas at least within a bed of something like Buddhism or whatever, that at least you can go, well, what is this? And they go, well, this is this. Okay, so and they can point you. But if you're in a kind of a very secular mindfulness type thing where they're all of that's kind of it's irrelevant, it can be kind of seen as just ignore that, don't deal with that. And if it's something, because there is that case that you get an awful lot of people where things come up during a kind of a meditation practice, where memories from past or trauma and stuff like that. And if you're not in a place where you feel that you can talk about it or deal with it, or you're told not, it's not an expert thing, then I think it can go wrong. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. I think it was Daniel Ingram who makes a big point of it, and that's just kind of that there should be, and other people, obviously, not just Daniel on the internet screaming, no, but it's like that, at least have it that if you're going to teach us, that you have the place where you can point people if things do happen,
Yeah.
Which is fair, I suppose.
But where is that though?
Well, to people like him, like to
No. But where is that? But where do you point people then when that happens?
To people like him. That's what I'm saying. But if you're learning mindfulness in your office, the way to do an awful lot of that for the thing, and it's just seen as a very secular, very kind of normal thing, and then these strange things happen, rather than pretending that these things don't happen. Go, well, there's a whole kind of section where you can go and find out about these other things. That's his kind of.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. That it's not just not just to tell people that, I don't know, whatever they're telling people, to ignore it, or that's not happening, or that's not what we deal with, or whatever. Just to kind of, because it's not in context. That's all. That's the kind of the thing. I don't know. I've never met anyone who just did normal meditation that had bad experiences. So I mean, it's not something I can speak. Like my mum meditated for years, twice a day for 45 minutes, and never had any experiences out of it. She did a kind of a mantra meditation, so which is a concentration exercise too. Well, can be, depends what way you do it, but it's mostly a mindfulness thing, bringing back rather than to the breaths to the mantra. Yeah, but we talked about this before, and you didn't seem to. You were saying that it's a different type of thing that is taught in these kind of, and I was kind of how is it different?
Yeah, I'm going on. What's the book called? Siddhartha's Brain, I think it was called, written by a Guardian writer, journalist. He explains that where the CBT and mindfulness meditation comes from, it is you're only meant to, you're not, if it's done the way that is prescribed that they made it, then you're not ever supposed to have these mystical experiences. So if you're having a mystical experiences, fucking ride that train, man.
Go for it.
Just fucking go for it. Do it. Have great fun. Meet everything that you meet with love and kindness. But also ask names. Yeah. And if they don't give you names, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. They could be the fae. Ask them to hold some iron. Will you just hold this iron for me just for a second? No reason.
What's this about? They're not allowed to hold iron?
No, they just seem like that. It's a thing.
So how did they shoe horses?
Magic. The magic horses that had no feet just rode along like this. I don't know. It's meant to make sense.
And clouds of mist.
Yeah. Well, maybe they had wooden horseshoes. Would that work? Or
maybe they just didn't bother with them. Yeah. I bought a horseshoe there today. My first ever horseshoe. I bought it. I'm going to make a thing out of it for someone. I'll show you when it's done. I'll put photos on Instagram. It's his birthday, and I'm going to make a thing out of it. Timber and a horseshoe.
We have one at our front door. You put it's for luck, isn't it? You put it at your front door.
Yeah, there's a weird thing over here. A lot of people have it upside down here.
Yeah. I had it upside down. The postman made me change it. She says, "No, that's not what you."
Yeah, good because it's to catch the look. That's
Right,
why it's down. But over here, a lot of people have it the wrong way around, and I try to explain to everyone you're wrong. I know.
Just in general, not about horseshoes at the road.
But I'm making it hanging down to catch the look, and if he has a problem with it, he can show up his arse.
Well, he can turn it upside down if he wants to have a look. Yeah. I just want to bounce something off you. I was recently kind of insight I've had around my because we talked about this before with the highly sensitive person, and about how if you're in a room with someone who is angry or upset or in bad form, that it puts you in bad form. I was trying to unpack that a bit, and it was kind of, I think I know why it happens, and I was kind of coming along and kind of realising that one of the functions I have, or that this underlying kind of belief or role I play, is that there's some part of me feels that I am responsible for the inner happiness of other people that I'm around, that I have to regulate people's emotions so that they don't become unhappy. Assuming this comes from some sort of childhood stuff, but so that it's always, even when I'm trying to disagree with someone or I have to say something bad, my main motivation is that they have to remain happy, or not happy is the wrong word, but not annoyed or regulated.
Placid. No. Placid is the wrong word. Yeah, no, I understand you.
But it's not too far of the wrong word either, though. They have to be.
Unupset.
Unupset. So my function at some point, I assume, was that I had to keep everyone around me unupset.
Yeah.
So then it's a case of that. So that's what I do, and I've really noticed myself doing it. It's very strange, and it's kind of. But to not do it makes, because the trigger for it is, if I don't do it, I'm a bad person. That's literally the trigger. I'm a bad person. That's, you're a horrible person for not doing that. And I can see that that's shitty, but it's still, so then when I don't act on it, or when I let the other person unregulate it, I get a horrible feeling because I feel like I'm a bad person. But anyway, that's something else to work on. But so what I realised then, that what it is that if someone's in the room and they're in bad form, it's like going, but I've done everything right. Why am I getting blamed for you being in bad form? And so that's it. And that's it. It's like, but I didn't do anything wrong. Why are you in bad form? And it's nothing to do with me. But because I have a job as a regulator in my head, that's the trigger. So I find that interesting. It's going, all right, okay. Now, just to remove that, be interesting. But it's an interesting one, because it's definitely, well, I said it's a role or a trauma, or it's whatever's the correct word for all of these things, that while it can, when that whole idea of that when you see it, and you can't then react on the behaviour because you've seen it. Well, I've totally seen it, and I still, it's too embedded in me to. Yeah,
but surely, Tommy, though, I don't know. Like, isn't it still okay to dip your toe in and out of it when the situation calls for it, but you're able to transcend it by seeing it? Is that still not okay?
That's kind of where I'm at the minute. It's going, right, just for the minute, all you need to do is notice it. And if it's a case of, so say I've had, something's happened between me and you, and it's been a bit of an argument, a bit of a tension or whatever. I won't be able to rest until that's sorted, even if I was completely right. So you said my mother was fat, right? And I had a reaction to it, and I go, you're completely wrong in that. And I was going, right, this is still up in the air. Part of me has to do something to regulate that, to make you. So for now, all I'm doing
would you not be able to sleep at night and stuff?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, it would really affect me. Yeah, I know. To the point, the reason why I said something happened recently, and I found it very hard to even work. Couldn't do anything. Not even a fucking thing that's worth annoying yourself about. But just it's that embedded. So what I've just allowed myself to do is to just recognise it, and if you cannot act on it, if you cannot try and make it better, make that person like you again, or because what I'm trying to do is make sure that you, even though you've called my mum fat, that you still like me, or because that means then I'm a good person. But just in recognise it, and then even if it does come a point where then I send you a stupid meme the next day to try to clear the air, whatever it is I do.
Yeah.
to recognize.
So that's why he sends me memes.
Yes, to recognizing that right, I know what you're doing, but that's okay because it means then you can function today. But try and get out of the bigger behaviour type of thing.
I understand.
It's people pleasing, essentially, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, it is people pleasing, but
And how dare you call my mother fat? How dare you? Send Spud memes.
You know what it is? You have all the pieces there. It's like a simple jigsaw with 4 pieces, but they're all kind of facing the wrong way or something. They haven't all fit together yet. Even though it's like they're fitting together, but you're not happy with the fit. That's probably better. I think. Okay, all I can give you is my experiences on this, but you know my Christmas was a bit strange, and I think at the end of it, I just kind of had to say, right, I'm just going to meet this with as much love and understanding as I can, and I'm still allowed to be annoyed. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still allowed to be annoyed, and I'm still allowed. Not allowed. No, I'm still allowed to fall into the role of being the kid or whatever, and play that role, but know that I'm playing it, and then if I think I'm going too far into it, then stepping out of it, but also meeting the other person with just understanding, I think, is enough. You know, like you're saying there that you're taking the blame for other people for someone else being in bad form, but I think maybe just look at, I understand why you're in bad form, and then trying to remove yourself from it. Yeah, this isn't
My fault.
unless it is your fault.
Of course. Of course. I'm not talking about that. Like, I mean, it's,
you know,
well, it's
just
nothing to
saying,
do.
like, okay.
Even if it's nothing to do with me, that's the, you know.
Yeah. But it's also that thing of, like, you know, some people are hard. It's like that thing what's that thing we used to watch years ago? Raylan Gibbons was the character's name. The bounty hunter, Texas Ranger type dude. He was a cop. I don't
know.
He's nothing. Anyway, he had arrested this.
Home
this
and away.
Not in China. What the hell is it called? It's on the tip of my tongue. People listening are shouting into.
Is it the dog or whatever his name? That guy, was it? No.
No. Raylan Gibbons. Gibbons.
I don't think I know this.
Raylan Givens. I thought his name was Gibbons. It's Givens. So he's a U.S. Marshal in Justified.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
So he arrested this guy, and he's like, "Look, buddy, I have a story for you." And he's like, "If you wake up in the morning and the first person you meet that day is an asshole, they're an asshole. But throughout the day, if you meet 3 other assholes, you're the asshole." Do you know? And it's always stuck with me in that, like, it's that, like, because it's often been me. Hundreds of times it's been me who's had a big cranky head on me and just going, everyone's a dickhead. No, Spud.
Yeah.
You're the dickhead. You know, cop on to yourself. But so to flip it into what you're talking about, then just see the other person as just an asshole and love them for it. They can't help it because they're not seeing their behavior as being bad. It's like the way, for example, like I know someone who reacts very kind of aggressively to, like, even like a small situation of drop their pen, and then they'd be like, for fuck's sake, and they just, whoa, what? That's over the top. And it's because they've been doing it all their lives. They don't realize that it's the total wrong reaction, rather than just going, oops. Do you know?
Yeah.
You know, a simple thing, but it's because they've let, 100 bad experiences mount up, that's the way they react. So that's not easy to do, to try and meet these people who you have your role with and they have their roles with. But I honestly think that just even making the effort, just trying to meet their mood with some compassion and metta will help. Won't help them. No. Won't help them at all. At all. Will not. Not at all. And it's none of our jobs to fix, in inverted commas, other people around us. It's not. That's their bag of tools. But I think for us as individuals to be able to deal better with other people, to deal better with everyone, really, is to just have, just keep it that little bit back in the back of your head. Just keep it and try and bring it up every now and again. If someone's being rude or someone's being over the top, just say, okay, just say to yourself, right, I can understand them. Don't agree with them, I can understand them. And then you make the decision, right, I fight fire with fire here, or just let them what's the word I'm looking for? Splurge their anger, and I'll just, whatever, it'll wash over me. Or, fight back. Every situation's different, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's known, like, I think I let people walk over me a bit too much. So it's that kind of balance of that if I fight back, that I'm a bad person for doing that, for standing up for myself. And what happens then, of course, is there's 10 episodes where I don't, and then on the 11th one I go insane because I just can't take it anymore.
You fight too hard,
then you are the arsehole because the pain is falling on the ground. So it's kind of trying.
It's that other thing as well of trying to see every situation as a new thing. I spoke about this before with the kids. Just trying to. That's another thing. Just trying to say, right, this is a brand new situation, even though it's whatever, we're drawing with crayons and paper. We do it nearly every day.
Yeah, it's the 6th time it's happened this hour. Yeah.
But just try and see it as, okay, this is brand new. It's brand new. This is a new thing. How would new Spud do this? How would he react? Without the biases and stuff like that. And it's especially, it's always going to be harder with family because it's harder for them to see that you've grown or changed somewhat. Because they'll always remember you as the stroppy teenager or the young fella or whatever,
or whatever it was. Yeah.
Whatever. Friends are the same, it's harder. It's harder, and especially then if you like, if you come into the situation, you're like, right, I'm putting up a boundary here now because this is what you learn in fucking therapy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Stick your boundary, put up your boundaries, stick your boundaries. It's like, yeah, that's fine if it's someone I don't know, but it's like if it's your
and the relation,
father,
the relationship you've had
is different.
Like you've trained people to treat you like this for the last 20, 40 million years.
And suddenly you put up Trump's wall. And
then you go, so why are you being an asshole? And you go, well, no, I'm just not letting you be an asshole to me anymore. But it's like, there's that, but it's just kind of tough because I just feel so bad and when I don't appease the person, even when I'm right. And that's no good for anyone, for them or for me. But just something I'm become more and more aware of, and it's something I definitely have to either choose. It's that thing we talked about before. You either choose to go, right, I'm just going to let people do that and not have these arguments to reduce the amount of arguments. Or I turn my life into a battlefield and fight these things. Well,
there's another option as well. You just try and be a people pleaser all the time, and then you become, I don't know, a comedian or something, because that's what. But that's at the root of every comedian's thing. They just want to make everyone laugh and happy. That's why they're all so fucking. They're not all messed up, but that's why a lot of them are, because they're so desperate.
Every one of them is. Oh, clearly.
No, but they're so desperate to get that laugh out of people and get that reaction, and it's like, okay, well, that's you can take it that way if you want to, but I don't know. For me, I don't think being a people pleaser is the best option. I'll try and make everyone as happy as I can, but ultimately, it's that, like, well, if you're not happy, that's not really my fault. I did my best.
Yeah. That's it. I've tried out my current mantras. I'm doing my best. Take it or leave it. That's kind of what I'm trying to think. There's a great quote from Steve Martin, and he's talking to someone, I don't know, in an interview with another comedian. And he says, Steve Martin asked him, why did you become a comedian? And your man goes, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And I was always trying to be, I was the funny guy at school and all thing. And then Steve Martin's not, And then he's finished. Your man goes, do you think it's because your dad didn't love you, no? And your man's like,
oh, class. That's brilliant. There's a lady I interviewed many, many years ago, Katie Myers. She's on YouTube. If I can find it, I'll send it to you. She does these great videos about specific comedians, and she has an amazing one about Steve Martin's stand-up comedy days, just how good he was, and why he was so fucking smart to quit when he quit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Because like the way she explains it is like he had done everything. He'd done everything in comedy, and he had done it so quickly that couldn't have kept going with stand-up comedy. He would have had to have broken it and invented a whole new thing. She was even like, she gave the example of like, he started those, those, what's his name? The dude with the, David Letterman used to do these things on his show. They'd always go out into the streets of New York and they'd ask these like city questions.
Oh, yeah.
And you see, the rest of them continue this as well.
Yeah.
He started that.
Right. Oh,
so
right.
he did.
Okay.
Like, we think of that as such an established thing.
Yeah.
But like, he
Have you watched
lots of different things.
Watch his new show, Only Murders in the Building. About him doing a podcast. Good. Brilliant. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth watching.
And she's hilarious.
Yeah.
He's just so bloody funny. Like.
Yeah. And he's pretty much, well, I was going to say he's a straight man. He's always kind of the straight man in it, even though he's not. Like, he's not cracking jokes in a sense. But no, it's good. Definitely watch it. You should watch it. I think there's 10 episodes. It's an Apple TV job.
All right. Cool. What's it on Netflix, eh?
No, it's the thing. It's on that thing. Right, Carlos Castaneda.
Right, we'll do this film. Holy.
So one of the things that we got recommended was Carlos Castaneda, and while there's a couple of documentaries, the one that we went with is the BBC one from 2006. It's quite a short one. It's about 50 minutes. It's on YouTube, but it's kind of not a great copy. It's subtitles have been added. It looks like someone recorded off their TV with their phone. Not quite, but it's watchable. Carlos Castaneda, for people who don't know, which was you, Spud, you didn't know the name at all.
Yeah, I had no clue who this guy was. No.
He was like the biggest name in spirituality at one point, and still to a large extent would be. Like, he's still a huge kind of name. It was the first kind of guy who really, like in a kind of Terence McKenna way, went and found out about, drugs and South American gurus, and then brought it back to America, and kind of that interest in that kind of mystical thing kind of combined with drugs and dreams, and he would be all of this, and it was like just huge news. And like, as it says in the documentary, his first book made him a millionaire, and people, he kept going back, getting new secrets and new kind of things, and it was kind of, it would have been someone who was, I suppose maybe I have a bit of personal history on how I came across him. My dad, he used to go to the library, and he used to pick out different books and try to get into them, and one of them was a Carl Jung book he read. Another one was The Art of Dreaming by Carlos Castaneda, which I think is his first or second book. And so I was, I suppose, maybe, 12, 13 or something when he was reading this, and he was telling me about it, and it was different meditations that they're doing, and it was all more coming from a dreaming point of view than a peyote point of view. There wasn't, either he just kind of ignored that, because my dad's not going to get peyote anywhere in Dundalk in Ireland. But he did a lot of kind of dream stuff, and one of the big things that was mentioned is that when you're in a dream, try and see your hands, because we never really see our hands. And once you can see your hands, and that opens the doors to whatever, your dream work. So that my dad got really into doing all this kind of dream stuff and trying to see his hand and all this. And it was kind of, so I knew kind of Carlos from that, but there was no talk of him being anything other than exactly who he said he was, that he was legitimate, because it's pre-internet, so how would you know? It's just a book in the library, you know what I mean? Like, you can't look him up in, the Argus, the local paper, or whatever it is. So then I suppose a few years later, I started reading him myself. I read The Art of Dreaming, The Road to Exatlion, or whatever, I can never pronounce that, and the first three, which are seen as the proper books, not the proper, the main books. There's like a ton of other ones. And I remember reading them particularly. I used to go to this coffee shop, and I just sit and read it. And it was something that was really nice, and I really enjoyed it. And it was like, I felt like it was, part of a different world. I was in on a secret, or, there was something that kind of something exotic about it, because it's a South American master, and, all this thing. And it's like, awesome. Didn't know anything about him really, again, but just believed. Then, of course, as soon as the internet comes out, it starts trickling down that he may not have been exactly what he appeared to be, and wasn't fully kind of exposed to the exact heights of what he was like until fairly recently, in the last 5 or 10 years. But even in that, it's like, you can chaos magic him, his books, not him. Him as a person is a terrible person, and the awful person. If all of this is to be believed, which it seems very likely. But there's still a lot of good tech in it, whether he made it up or not. You know, that kind of like all that dream and stuff does work. But I'm sure there's better resources for that now than kind of falling into that kind of dream. But you can tell even from the comments on that YouTube video that even with all of that evidence and all that is presented, either people aren't actually watching, but you could all of the defence, people coming to his defence and how they got him wrong, and this was a hit piece by the BBC. And fairness, BBC have been known to do hit pieces previously on people, but it wouldn't be the first time. But yes, it's still, you know, because we put Carlos Castaneda in the title of this episode, I guarantee you there'll be comments of people defending him. That, you know, that there is that sort of brigade around it. That's kind of my spiel on him. What did you hear? What did you hear about him?
Do you know? So it starts off, and he's just a normal dude. Goes into college, doesn't really know what he wants to do. Does anthropology. His professor says, "Yeah, go off and meet an Indian. Good luck. Don't read in a book. Piss off. Go on. I'm sick of this."
You can tell this documentary is about 15 years old as well, the way some of the interviews are talked about. I just thought he was a brown Mexican. You can't say that. You can't say that. I thought he was just a brown man.
That was dodgy, all right.
Yeah.
And so he goes off to. He's in California, so he's like, I'm going to Mexico to take a lot of drugs. See his boy goes off and meets this guy called Don Juan, who's from the. I had it there a second.
Yaqui, is it? Yuki?
Yaqui.
Yaqui, yeah.
The Yuki tribe, and then he's a bit grumpy at the start. Doesn't like him. He's like, "Fucking hell, what's the colour of your jib?" This white man coming here, taking all our lands. Now he wants to learn about us, study us, study us, study us. Is that all we are to you? We're just something worth studying. We're not people. Jesus Christ. We invented the wheel. And
chocolate. Chocolate we'll have, you know. That's us. That was us. And that Wessels, but we don't talk about that.
And so anyway, he made a big impression.
We've Spuds are ours as well. We
Spuds are ours, yeah. Made a big impression on Carlos because, you know, when someone plays hard to get, they're obviously going to make a big impression on you. So he's like, well, I gotta get this girl. You know, I gotta go back here.
Yeah.
So Carlos goes back, and then the Mexican lad is won over and says, "Here, take a load of this cactus." And he has a mystical experience. Meets a dog.
People talk about sharks for some reason.
Yeah. What did he say?
There was a lot of people talking about sharks.
In Italian. They were speaking in Italian. They were talking about sharks in the Mexican desert. All right. So he meets this dog in his dream, and then Don Juan says, well, that was the peyote spirit welcoming you. And it's like, fucking hell, and it looked like a scary Rottweiler to me. I don't want that to do with that dog. Like, the black dog is sign depression, surely.
Yeah. So that, in Winston Churchill's speak, didn't he come up with that, the black dog?
There was speaking of racists. And,
speaking of terrible people.
Yeah. So, what happens then is Don Juan takes a shine to Carlos and says, I like the colour of your jib. Be my friend, be my apprentice. And so he goes back to his college and his wife, he's married. And he's like, look, I'm out here, love. See you in a couple of years. I'm off to be an apprentice. Goodbye, kids. I'll miss you a little. And he moves to Mexico and becomes... Now, look, don't leave your wife and kids. Stuff like this happens. Well, unless they're shitty people.
Particularly the kids.
Well, I mean, what's the point in staying in an unhappy marriage? There is no point at all. You know, may everyone be happy, especially for the kids. Actually, the kids would be happier if you're not in a loveless marriage.
Or stay in the marriage but get rid of the kids.
A friend told me this. I don't know. I have no experience. This isn't from personal experience.
Right, okay.
A friend. Asking for a friend. And I like this part because this was like hitting me as like, this is around the time of Vietnam, protests.
Hold on a second.
Woodstock.
1 second. Did you miss me?
Of course.
That's my father-in-law. Just wants to register his tool online.
Nice. Wait, let me see that. That's in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Nice. That's worth a few bob.
He gets a 3-year guarantee if you stick a code in with your email, and he hasn't a clue. So I says, yeah, no worries. So yeah, you were talking.
Yeah, so saying that like this is around the time of the Vietnam protests, with the Vietnam War obviously is going on as well. There was Woodstock and Hunter Thompson. He's not mentioning it, but I was like, well, this guy's just going full gonzo. He's going Hunter Thompson style. He's going, balls deep into this,
yeah.
and he's going to write about this from his experience, and he does. So he comes back, then he does his apprenticeship, and he certified shaman or whatever, and writes about it from this kind of gonzo experience. And I was like, fucking hell, that's really cool, because up to then, anthropology is this hands-off thing of like, well, we're only here to observe you strange brown people, and we're not judging you. We're just going to sit here with long faces and
then write a dissertation about why you're wrong about everything you believe.
White people fucking suck. And
but the thing is, he's not white though, is he, Carlos Castaneda? He's of some sort of Mexican descent or some sort of. Is he?
I have no idea. I
assume so. Given that the woman calls him a little brown Mexican at one point, that's the. So I don't know. I didn't even see a picture of him after this documentary.
Many years ago, Tommy, I ran into a fella in Temple Bar, and his name was Carlo, and he worked in a pub that I knew, and I said, I know you. You're going out with my ex-girlfriend. And he said, yeah, you're Spud. And I said, how's it going? So we shook hands, got talking for a minute. And I was like, how come you're called Carlo? Are you from Carlo? And he's like, because, Carlo's a place in Ireland, Carlow. And, if you move to Dublin, you might get nicknamed where you're from. Like, it happens quite a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
And I was like, no, my parents just like the name. And fuck. So, you do meet Irish people called Carlo. So I have no idea where this Carlos fella is. Maybe. Whatever,
I know a guy called Sligo. Why? He's from Sligo. Yeah.
From Sligo. That's it, any Scottish person I met and worked with in Dublin were all called Scott. Where
are they?
All the Welsh people.
Probably were.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. No, they're not properly called. I have no idea what their real names are, but they were all called Scott. And any Welsh person was Taffy.
David Taffy, right? Yeah.
They're all called Taffy, and English people were just ignored.
But it was grand. But your name that you would have been called Paddy. Go, yeah, that's my name. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
yeah, keep that one.
Yeah.
So then what happens, Tommy? You can carry on.
So yeah, he kind of bases himself. Then he writes a book, and he comes back. Well, there's kind of this kind of talk of where he comes back and he thinks he doesn't have anything, and he goes to one of his mates or someone he's at college, whatever, goes, do you want to read this shite that I've come up with? This story seems to be something that's lending credence to it being a real thing that happened. So he had all of this kind of field notes, whatever, and then they realised it was gold. And so it gets published, bestseller, millions, he becomes a millionaire.
Time magazine in his first book. Fucking, it's incredible.
Overnight, a huge success. Everyone's delighted. So he goes back and he learns more, and he writes two more books.
Two more
he writes, but there is a number of other books after, but he's two more. And it's after the third one of his kind of devotees, I suppose, or someone that he's really in it, kind of notices that between the books, that Don Juan becomes a different type of character. He's a different personality. In one, he's very serious, like how dare you come here looking for our secrets. The second one becomes kind of a jester, a clown, and the third one he's kind of different as well. But the problem he notices is that the time period of the first and the third book is exactly the same. It covers the same couple of months, and so he's going, how can this guy have a completely different personality from the same time period? Unless of course it's all made up. And as he starts kind of going, oh, well, maybe this is made up. Can I have your field notes? Can I look at them just out of interest? I know it all got destroyed in the flood. No proof, and it's like, and even when the retort from his son later on, they do have proof. The son goes, yes, I seen loads of papers. And he's going like, any left? No. No. But how do you know he was in Mexico? Well, I have this postcard that says, I've been in Mexico a long, long time. Really? Sorry, I haven't written to you. I've been in Mexico a long, long time. Okay. So, kind of, people start going, oh, maybe this isn't true at all. And the whole start kind of, people go down and then realise that the actual tribe that they're talking about don't in any way deal with peyote. They don't have these kind of ceremonies at all. People go down and say, have you, was there this guy here? And certain people go, yeah, he was here. He's only here for like a week, and we told him nothing. So, then they find another kind of guru type dude who could have been, the basis of what Don Juan was. And they kind of go, well, that seems fair enough. In anthropology, you would try to maybe change the names, maybe put in a few false flag things to keep the culture from being found out, because obviously what happened as soon as the book came out, loads of hippies went down and started getting the drugs, and that was a problem, so much so that they had to outlaw it. Or you could see it the other way, that it wasn't a problem, people were expanding their minds and the government were trying to control them. Whatever's your view on life.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, it's just a plant, man. You can't make plants illegal. Pretty much the first thing God did was make plants illegal. So, so anyway, so that whole culture comes around it. This build up obviously from this book, and everyone wants to sort of find a guru, but guru is not the right word. That's a completely wrong word. But what's he called? Like a master? What is he actually called? Shaman. That's the word. But shaman's also not the right word, because that's Siberian people. So whatever. And then it kind of, it all seems to just kind of fall apart a bit, and people are starting to, go.
Yeah, he interviews the wife. Remember? What was his name? I have it here. Ramon Medina Silva was apparently who they thought might have been the real Don Juan.
Yes,
fitted the profile, done the peyote stuff, but was in a different tribe. But okay, he's covering his tracks here, trying to keep him anonymous. So this fella, not the fella who did the expose, this other guy who was an anthropologist, Jay Fikes. I've seen him on stuff, man.
All right, okay.
On other, I just googled him there a minute ago, and there's something he's on with, some connection with an MK Ultra. He had opinions on it or something, or
all right, maybe he was in
a book or a podcast about it or something. I've probably seen him on History Channel or something like that, like.
Or in the John Ronson documentaries, maybe. Might have been someone he was.
Maybe, I don't know. He looked familiar anyway last night, and just looking now, maybe that's where I've seen him before. But so he tracks down your man's widow and does an interview with her, and it's all going well. And she says, "Oh, yeah, he was here. He was grand. Yeah, he stayed for a while." But yeah, he was only interested in chicks, like.
Yeah, he's here for women.
She said that, like, they in it's a different tribe than the Yaqui one, and they would do 4 or 5 different peyote ceremonies a year, where they would go off and harvest it and stuff like that. And she was like, "No, it was too much hard work for him. He just wanted to stay in town and get drunk and shag women."
Yeah.
And we told him nothing,
Yeah.
So okay.
Okay, yeah.
So and definitely wasn't an apprentice,
But then they kind of discovered that a lot of the things that Don Juan, I keep wanting to say Don Juan DeMarco, like, for some reason. Yeah. But are literally taken from other books and from other things. And as your man kind of goes, so he goes to the library, finds things he likes, and then in the next book, Don Juan says it. There's one in particular to make an example of, which is that a human being is like an egg, or something like that, and it's word for word from this other book.
Yeah.
And they all say, and there's countless other examples. And I kind of, when people
but
say
don't
that,
give any.
But why not give a few more, just while you're at it? Don't take too long. Possibly, it's like, and loads of people are saying it. Everyone is saying it. So, but like, okay, fair enough. Maybe we 40 minutes. We can't go through the things for this much detail in this hit piece. And so yeah, it kind of then it goes into, now it gets getting into I think the BBC have felt, well, we put his side of the story enough. Now let's talk about what really happened here, and it starts getting into this kind of really, here we are, just culty, usual, standard, weird, horrible nastiness, lessons to be learned by anyone involved in the spirituality scene, to watch for these flags. And it's the same red flags constantly. It's like that one line, which So he's starting to have sex with people. He's starting to build up a little kind of community around him, and all of these it's mostly women. And a point is made a number of times, women who he makes them dress like young boys, which is strange, or men in general. There's a particular girl that he has in his circle that he meets. She's 19. He adopts her, also has sex with her.
Blue Scout.
Yeah, but she was the
Patty Parton.
Which
we left out the start of the documentary.
Yeah. Well, I suppose just in a sense because it's kind of spoilery in one way. That's why I just didn't. Yeah. And then
I had the sheriff's name. Did you remember the sheriff's name at the start? Marston Mottville.
Oh, what a name!
What a name! Sheriff Marston Mottville. That's a fucking kick-ass name, man. They should have a comic book.
A weekly TV show. But anyway, so he's then obviously having sex with other people, and he says there's one woman in particular says that one of the things he said to me was, "I really like your vagina because it reminds me of my daughter." And I go like, that's possibly one of the worst things I've ever heard anyone say in my life.
You should have heard the laughter coming from my house when that was said.
Oh man!
But I think I might have woke up the children. Just like, this is fucked up. What the fuck is going on?
So yeah,
yikes! And he said it to one of the girls who was one of the only survivors. He said it to her because he wanted. Oh yeah, one of the things he wanted with her when he was like indoctrinating her was he wanted to have sex with her in her childhood bedroom to like kill the woo of her trauma.
Yeah, clear the energy, all of this thing, and you must do what I say because I'm the enlightened being.
And then and then tries to hook her with that killer chat-up line.
What a chat-up!
Vagina looks like mine.
Yeah. Why don't more men use that? I mean, it seems like a winner, doesn't it? What a piece of shit.
What a horrible
he's estranged, obviously, from his wife and kid at this point. He's boarding up with these thing called the witches, which are a group of 3. It's a bit hazy on how many women. It's 3 + 1, and then they say 5 at the end. So a number of
and then
witches.
They say 6 and 1 survived, and the one that survived must be the girl that was interviewed.
Yeah. Well, okay. So there's
this
entourage of the witches who he lives in this house with, and they won't let the wife in. And there's a really sad bit that is kind of brushed over. She comes up and hasn't seen him in a long while. The wife says, "I want to see him," and they says no, and then she says, "Well, I'm not leaving until he comes out." And then he comes out and she says, "I want you to sign these 2 books for me." And he says, "I can't because I'm too weak." And I've gone, I assume that's because she wants to sell them, that she's no money. that you know what I mean? That's and because you're not going to go up to your strange husband and go, "Just while I'm here, you wouldn't sign these books for Auntie Sarah," and and it's like, oh, that's just so sad. And then the worst one, then the last time his son sees him, he asks for his phone number and he writes it down on a piece of paper, and as he's leaving he sees one of the witches taking it out of his pocket and throwing it on the ground.
Trying out the window. Yeah, it's horrible.
But he seems to have told him that he was going to, because like Don Mon in the books doesn't die. He ascends, he kind of jumps off a cliff, or he just disappears into the ether. He never actually dies. And then Carlos Castaneda himself says that that's what's going to happen to him, that he's just going to, just like Jeezy Creasy is just going to go up, body and all, into the heavens. And as we found out, Enoch did as well. So he's going to be one of those few people who managed to do this.
Jesus, maybe I should read the books then.
Yeah, maybe should. Yeah, maybe it's part of it. But sadly, he has diabetes and liver cancer, and is really, really sick. And I don't understand it, because they're kind of going, he keeps telling these witches that they're obviously going to ascend with him or whatever. How they're kind of, well, it's the cognitive dissonance, isn't it, I suppose, of being in a cult. How they're like treating him for his illness while at the same time thinking he's some sort of god too. There's kind of, I don't know, but we'll never know because that's closed doors, behind closed doors. But lots of kind of standard guru, telling people that I can remove, your trauma by having sex with you, and like he was that kind of very shitty person, and there's people start investigating. Some of his own crew start investigating, how to find out about the sicknesses, to go through his rubbish and to find, receipts that he's, spending loads of money on these witches. He's married 2 of them in 1 week. It's just, it's just all, and he's about 70 at this time, like, isn't it? Like, he's an old man at this point. But
it's weird. It doesn't. It doesn't. Kind of brushes over the thing of like the transition between like writing the 3 very successful books and then suddenly he has a cult. Like, okay, what happened in the middle? That like, surely he was going around the country giving talks, getting money, but like something has to go wrong before you set up a fucking cult.
Yeah.
Like, there must have been bad experiences, must have been called out a few times where he just went, no, I'm actually going to dig in on this one. I'm going to be entrenched. I'm going to set up my own thing, rather than it being, because he called himself, what was the name? Nuka, Durka. I didn't write it down. He gave himself some kind of title.
Nual or something.
Nual, yeah, which Don Juan had as well. So it's like a light being and a person who teaches the flock. And so, so he wants to teach the flock, but why in this style of a closed thing rather than, just, it's not in before YouTube, but instead of it being a more open.
Well, I suppose, why do all cults end up, separating themselves? Because if you don't separate themselves, people leave, and because there'll be people going, "Really? Have you seen that? You shouldn't do that." So that's part of it. Like, he did say, he wants people to start separating, and it was when I think someone was said that you have to, stop talking to your daughter. Then she went, "Hold on, I'm gonna look into this a bit more before I'm doing any of this kind of stuff." But the whole it's control. It's the separation. You then are the only source of authority and news and power, all that, and influence and all that, so that you can get it. It's like there's, every time I watch anything about these things that end up like in a cult, it's like there's so many. You would think that being that there's so many versions of the story, that we all know, that it still wouldn't happen, but yet it still does happen. People do still end up in cults, and I definitely think at some point, had the circumstances been right, I could easily have ended up in a cult. Being a seeker and looking for that, and then you find someone very charismatic who seems to know the secrets of the universe and is going to help you along. I don't know if I could ever get down to the let's have sex in your childhood bed. I think of my baby. No, I didn't. I didn't mean you. I'm not gay. I meant your wife. Whoa, what? Oh, yeah, okay, fine, yeah. What the fuck's going on here? Yeah.
How did my life fall apart like this?
Yeah. Yeah. Why am I giving you money while you're shagging my wife? What is this?
Cheering and clapping. You can do it. You can do it. It happens to everyone. It's okay. It's fine. She understands. She's used to it.
So anyway, he dies, shockingly, doesn't ascend into heaven, isn't seated at the right hand of the Father, and then there's a more horrifying end to this, because obviously the people who are the witches who were meant to ascend with him don't, and there's kind of this kind of sense that, well, they then go and kill themselves, and their bodies are never found, apart from one whose body is then found. It's your one who was what's her name, Blue. You had it written, Blue Scout. Blue Scout. They find her bones in 2003, if I'm right, out in the desert. Yeah, horrible. That's where the film starts. The film starts with they found his body and Mr. Deputy with the awesome name. What was it again? Sheriff Marston Mottville. Awesome name. Fucking, that's incredible. And what a fucking cool name. Do you know what's mad about that investigation? So, like, they find this body with the car, or not too far from the car, and I'm like, shit. Oh well, I better look into this. It takes him 3 fucking years to find out that a park ranger in like the next county had found this. Sorry. They didn't find the car. Sorry, they found the body. And it took him 3 fucking years to find a report from a park ranger, like literally down the road, who had reported this car. And he's like, oh, well,
it's hardly her car, is it? Sure, I may as well look it up. And then they did, and then they put 2 and 2 together. 3 years, like fucking park ranger down the road.
But I suppose it's one of those kind of red tape things with state lines, and you don't talk to each other, and it's you know. Like,
well, that's the mad thing about America. The mad thing about that's one of the many mad things about America, that like the whole system isn't joined up. Like in what's that the one we watched? Is a Manhunter. Like, it's impossible to get evidence from that police department because it's not the same. How do you have a police department that isn't one body? Yeah. That blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind.
Is it because, well, there's different laws and all that kind of stuff in each state, isn't it? So it's not like they don't even have an overall law as well. They've county laws. Like, can you imagine if there was different laws in like
bonkers.
Dublin that there wasn't loud, or there was like,
isn't it crazy? Isn't it? You know?
But I understand there's a size difference too. I mean, like one county. Not county, whatever state in America is, like, I assume, bigger than Ireland, completely. So, you know, if you're trying to govern, you know, on some sort of local level.
I know that, but what I mean is that, like, okay, if the police department in New York have a database of fingerprints.
Like, can I have access to it, please?
But the lads in Texas are like, yeah, look, can I look at your fingerprints? And they're like, nope. What? Yeah. Nope.
No.
Why? Freedom. Okay. You win. That's our safe word.
Yeah, we all agree. We've all agreed. Yeah.
Freedom.
Someone
walked into a weed dispensary in one of the states, Colorado, I think, to buy weed, and he wasn't wearing a face mask. And your man is like, "Here, buddy, put on your face mask in the shop." And he's like, "I'm from Texas. Oh, we have freedom." And he's like, "Isn't weed like a felony in Texas?"
Idiot.
Shut the fuck up. So poor Patty, Patty Parton was her name. Yeah. She just walked into the desert and fucking didn't come back, the poor thing. She's only 19. Well, she was 19 when she got into the cult.
Yeah.
Weird. There is that bit still missing for me, though. Like where did it start to fall apart for him? Because we know, like, the books, he starts to get found out, but we don't, in the doc, it doesn't say that, like, people had really turned against him. Because I just looked there quickly on Amazon, like, his book, one of the books there is still €25 for
I mean, like, it's huge. You know, it's hugely popular. It's still like, but it a lot of it's because people don't know, but also a lot of people don't believe that that's true. You know what I mean? That they just go, no. Or even one of the things I've seen is, yes, he was playing a perfect example of why the material world is terrible. You know, he was teaching us. Like, come on. It's just...
There's easier ways.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, this is... The documentary makes a great case for, like, always Google the people you're buying. Always Google the author. Just always. You know, because you don't know what you're getting yourself in for. I nearly bought books from that Italian fascist dude. What's his name?
Evolva. Is that Julius Evolva? Is that right? That's the right name?
Yeah. I nearly bought a couple of his books and then Googled him and went, whoa, no, I'm not fucking touching this. But actually, it was BNOT put me onto that. Be careful with this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
I would still say you could probably read Carlos Castaneda and get something out of it. Like, and you could probably read Julius Evolva. I've no idea.
He's not fascist.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think you should go in knowing this rather than going in thinking this is real.
Yeah, of course.
Like the dream stuff is good in Carlos Castaneda, and there's some good tech, there's some good ideas. It's a nice journey. If it was a fictional book, say it was something like presented as the equivalent of the Celestine. Actually, like, say something like the Celestine Prophecy, which is a fiction book which is trying to teach you 10 lessons, but it's totally made up characters, and So if it was that, then it's brilliant. You know, you go, right, okay, this guy goes down South America, learns all of this cool stuff, whatever, and you could really get behind it, really knowing it's fiction, taking what you want from it and all that. But when it's presented, not even as truth, but as anthropology, then you've a huge problem. Huge problem. And as your man says, he says, I used to be really angry, now I'm really sad, and I think it's kind of the impact it's had on culture and and the trust between Europeans and South Americans. I think it's made that way worse. It's like, it's really had a huge negative impact for something that was purporting to be a positive thing for all parties combined. Of course, there's still people doing it now. There's still people who are going down and doing the same sort of thing. Alberto Falaldo something very similar. I'm not calling him a fraud in the same way that Carlos Castaneda, don't know enough about it, but he has the same. He went and met a shaman down in South America. It's like, you know, almost a carbon copy story. There's a number of these things, you know, a number of people who've done it and become quite popular and successful. So I mean, the kind of hero's journey of it is very pleasing to us. You know, it's like something, you go, you meet the wise man, he tells you the secret of the universe. You say, no, I don't want that. And then you're forced to
and you lose a hand.
Then you lose your hand, and then in the end, you send
kiss your sister.
Then you kiss your sister. It's very strange. Someone gets in the frozen, and always someone gets frozen in this block of ice. Carbon. And then they make 6 more shitty movies that they shouldn't have. Or maybe I don't care. Whatever. People love the Star Wars movies; they can have them. But so I mean, I would say, read. You know, put it on your list. Read that the first book. But like, 25 at least other books you should read before that. You know, that kind of way. Like, but it's if you happen, I don't know. The audiobooks are good as well. Like, you know, you could.
It's a shame because like I at the start of it, I really liked this. I thought that I was seeing that, right, this guy is going gonzo in shamanism. He's been reading Hunter Thompson because Hunter Thompson was fucking massive at the time. And I just thought, this sounds fucking cool. Like, this guy's going to have great fun. And then, oh shit, cult. Oh, okay. That did not go how I thought it was going to go at all.
No.
You know, which is a pity. You know, could have been cool, man. You could have been cool, but you could have been just had to diddle the girls who look like boys.
Well, not even. I know what's that of it, but not even that. It's like from the beginning, it was a lie. You know, or maybe, you know, if this other shaman wasn't, you know, who you know, he changed the name and the tribe and stuff like that. It's almost as if he went down and someone said, well, if you meet a real shaman and you're right up against it, I'll give you an A. And he went, right. Wait in Mexico for 2 weeks. Yeah, I met your man, Don Mon. Yeah, he's give me my A. And then the book sold and he's a millionaire and he goes, all right, hold on. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm going to go with it, you know. Or he went down.
He could have finished there, though, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's human greed for you there. Like, cause imagine if like you write a book and you're given $1 million and you just go, yeah, that's it, I'm done. There's plenty of actors who have done that.
Yeah.
And plenty of writers. There's plenty of actors who just like done in one big film, have their $1 million, that's it. Go live on a ranch. Bye. Fucking perfect. Well done, like.
All of them are running cuts. Every single one of them on the ranch. Yeah. Well, who are you? Oh, well, I'm the guy from that movie. If you need me to remove some negative energy, let's get into this.
Shit, I read about I googled Daniel Day-Lewis the other day to see what's he been doing because he hasn't been in a film.
Cult.
I don't know how long.
He's in a cult. Yeah.
So he stopped films altogether. He stopped being an actor. The last film he was in, he was like a dressmaker, something Tread or something like that. It's meant to be good. I don't know. Okay. It wouldn't be my bag, to be honest. But he's this aristocratic tailor dressmaker thing, and he falls in love with a commoner, and she becomes his muse. And, okay, it sounds interesting, except for the whole dressmaking stuff.
It sounds interesting apart from the entire storyline, which I've no interest in. Other than that,
but he's good. He's a great actor. Yeah. But apparently, he has given up acting and went off and did. And I'm not making this up. This is what I read on the internet. Okay, so I don't know if it's true, but all I'm saying is I'm not making this up. Right, yeah. Apparently, he went to it was either Sardinia or Corsica, and took up an apprenticeship as a cobbler.
All right, okay. Like doing the full method acting or just I want to be a cobbler.
No. He wants to be a cobbler. He's not
going to play Geppetto in a remake action live of Pinocchio or something.
Remaking Pinocchio. Imagine Daniel Day-Lewis as Geppetto. I want a real boy. I drink your milkshake. I want a real boy.
He spends 10 years learning to be a cobbler just for this
for one scene. That's probably what he's fucking up to, you know. He's all kinds of crazy. So he is.
Good actor.
But no cult. Not yet.
I'd say he's weird. I'd say he's weird to be around. I'd say he's an odd bloke.
Yeah, but all the best people are weird to be around. Do you know what I mean? Like you.
Like me, you know, Don Juan.
Don Juan. Yeah. I know I'm strange and have my quirks as well, but it's good fun. Yeah, I probably would pick up the first book and have a go through it. All right.
There's a longer extended documentary. It's about an hour and a half, and it's mostly talking heads. I watched some of it, but it was just like, oh, all right, okay. But if anyone wants, and there's another kind of very YouTube guy sitting at a desk, talking to the camera, talking about the missing person case of these women. And I only watched some of it, but that seems interesting. I probably will finish that, where he's just talking about the whole case around it and the people involved. More coming from that than the Carlos Castaneda. It's like, let's look at these 5 missing people and the story around it, rather than Carlos Castaneda and the 5 missing people.
Yeah. What's kind of weird about the cult thing for me is that it didn't seem, well, it wasn't put across in the documentary anyway, that it didn't seem that like it was, if he was this illuminated person and whatever, giver of knowledge, or whatever the words I spoke a while ago were, it didn't seem that he wanted to kind of expand it. He had his whatever 50 people and that was it. That's something. That's something that kind of boggles my mind about about cults, because it's like, well, why would you stop at just 50? Why wouldn't you try and expand it and do a Scientology?
Well, some people do, I suppose.
Because if you're greedy about writing more and more books to have more and more money, then why aren't you expanding your church as well?
But it's probably more manageable with 50 people than 5. Because then you have to give some of your power away, in a sense, to someone like a general who then can also have sex with people. You know what I mean, or whatever it is.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and thought.
So it depends on what kind of control you're looking for. If you want hands-on control, or you just want mass control, or depends on what sort of a psychopath narcissist you are. That's kind of it.
Oh well, poor old Dan.
I would give this documentary 7 Peter Kingsleys out of 10, and I think it loses.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Of the just that doesn't go in depth in enough place, and I know they only had 40 minutes or whatever it was, but still, they could have, I think, said a bit more, but different areas. It seems to jump like 50 years at some point, even though I know it's not 50 years. But there's a huge
exactly. Yeah. There's a jump, it seems, of about 10 or 15 years there, where it's like, right, what I'd like to know a little bit more about what went on there, because it just says that, like, so up to the 3rd book, and he's been demasked or whatever by this DeMille guy, who done the investigation work into it and found the plagiarism, and then it just kind of says that over the 80s, he drew back into himself and became secluded. Okay, why? That's what I'd like to know. Is it because, like, was there a big expose and his just reputation was in bits? Like, it can't have been that bad.
No.
He was able to set up a cult. Maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe. Because that's what I'm saying. Even you see now, people are still, will gravitate and defend him and all that. People wouldn't be up to people. People can gather around any sort of a personality, and he could present, if he's as charismatic as I assume he must have been, then he could convince people that, I was hard done by, this is they're out to get me. That whole kind of thing of like, they don't want the truth to come out, this was all, the government did it to keep this knowledge secret or whatever. There's a whole angle that you can easily get people, like, see, you won, where she was the Blue Scout, she was 19 and she was a waitress and he got her in. You know what I mean? So like he was able to talk people, and he was able to convince people, and that's the thing, isn't it, with the cults? So like it's to do with the charisma and the power of the guru or the master or whatever he's presenting himself as, more than really what the teachings are, because people tend to be able to just go along with whatever's been said because they're under this kind of notion of, well, he knows, or at the time I felt like, even though it wasn't right, this felt wrong, I thought he, I was the bad person in the situation, like all of these things. It's like, and I understand it, because there, but for the grace of God, Thank God there's no cults in my area. We're in there drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm going, Kool-Aid? I'm in Ireland. Why is there Kool-Aid in here? red lemonade sitting in the corner, some Lucozade or something. Yeah, I'll have some of that.
Cancer juice. Red lemonade.
Why is someone bringing in my childhood bed? What? Oh, sure, I'm sure it's fine. It's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Oh, my bank card. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's, what's the thing on that? Well, I'm a unionist, so it's 1606, isn't that right?
That's it. Yeah.
Is it 1606? I must look that up now because I know there's the Northern Irish listeners who won't be happy with me at all for getting this wrong.
So that person from Holland came over.
1690. Yeah. So I had the 6 upside down for a 9. 69. Yeah. Bye, Tommy.
Bye. Brilliant.